Now in our digital dive, could you imagine being stuck outside, pinned under a tree for 4 days? Yeah, me either, but that's exactly what happened to a guy from Redwood County, Minnesota, and he lived to tell the tale. Jonathan Sapleka's son. He says authorities were called to do a welfare check on his dad after he missed a few days of work. He'd been cutting down trees in his yard when his legs got pinned down by a large tree. And despite being trapped there for 4 days, Jonathan had a will to live.
As the sun would go down and the insects would come out, he would kind of be listening to, the shift in the wind within the leaves, and then he would notice what birds start singing.
Pretty wild. Jonathan's son says his dad's military background probably helped him survive. He adds that his dad's legs were basically crushed and that there's a chance his feet will have to be amputated. Overall, though, he says his dad is in good spirits. Now, this story had a lot of reaction on our KARE11 Facebook page from our Sunrisers. Joan here thinks someone was watching over him. Chris says Jonathan is tough as nails. And Erica was just one of many people sending their thoughts and prayers, hoping for a quick recovery. According to Jonathan's GoFundMe page, he ate plants and insects to survive. He drank sweat and rainwater that was soaked into his clothes, and he used a shirt to cover his head at night so the bugs wouldn't bug him while he was trying to get some sleep. So pretty incredible story of survival. I did post a link to his GoFundMe page, and it's posted right now at KARE11.com.
Amazing. And the way he kept his wits under those circumstances for 4 days. Quite a story. Glad you shared that one, Alicia.